Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you have a fantastic day. We're looking at Luna Classic, of course, seeing what's going on, helping understand best practice, big picture. I've covered this for the last couple of days, just based on a significant amount of requests that I've received recently. I want to make sure to cover it, of course, here again today, just kind of quickly touching on what may or may not have changed in the last, again, 24 hours. We always try to look and reanalyze at, as consistent as possible to make sure we know specifically what's going on. So if you're new to the channel, not a financial advisor, love to teach people to trade. I really hope you can learn something here today, of course. And if you do, comment below, let me know, and be happy to help you out, of course, if you want to become a better trader. CryptoCache.tech is a site, link in the description below again. That's where I offer my Trading Academy community and Signal group, where you can kind of learn and grow as a community trader. But more importantly, I have Trading Academy videos as well as just an actual Signal group where I basically send out trading signals for every single trade that I take, and you can learn how to structure your trades effectively in this market if you decide you want to follow along. Really awesome experience. So check that out in your own time. We've been making a killing here recently, actually, off of ICP and a handful of others. So it was really fun. I honestly steer clear of coins like these just based on the volatility. But once again, there's different strokes for different folks, right? That being said, taking a look here at Luna Classic, let's go ahead and look at some of the obvious stuff and work our way down. We can see we got that rejection off of 70 on the RSI. That's kind of what I mentioned previously as a pretty common characteristic, pushing the price action down. But we can kind of see that the price is kind of getting itself into a type of pennant pattern, which commonly breaks to the upside as you continue to test the strong resistance levels. So as we saw yesterday, the price did increase inevitably as I expected, but it didn't continue tremendously higher because it was overextended. We knew that. That's okay. That's very normal. So what's happening today is just standard consolidation, likely to retrace down to about, 12.1 essentially, and potentially bounce. I say potentially because we got to wait for that to confirm, but you got to understand we're overextended to the upside here, so the price action could literally continue down for another 2 or 3 days. That's a very strong possibility. You got to wrap your head around that. That being said, though, the daily doesn't look terrible. It's kind of more of a, I would say, just kind of fair to middling. I don't see anything great or terrible here so far on the daily. It makes sense there's profits being taken right now. Okay, so taking a look at the 4-hour though, this is where we can see that ascending type of trend that was moving concurrent with the 20-day set moving average got rejected. Okay, now that's pretty standard. That's very normal because the 20-day SMA isn't super strong on the 4-hour, but it does give us an indication that we are still on the right side of the tracks because we're above the 50-day SMA. And to me, the 50 is the most important on the 4-hour. Actually, no, correction. The 200 is more important on the 4-hour, but the 50 is really good indication of an ascending type of trend. Okay, it's very concurrent, in other words, with the 50-day SMA on the actual daily time frame, where you can see that commonly working as an ascending or descending trend line. That being said, we're on the right side of tracks there, so I'm not really concerned with the 20-day set moving average having lost that. The thing that I do like, of course, here is that we're coming down, just kind of relaxing a little bit on the RSI, because once again, as I mentioned, even though it works as a support level oftentimes, and it was overextended, I prefer the RSI to be between 50 and 70. That way we have more room for growth, so the next time it bounces, we're in good shape. What we could very well see too is the price action bounce off 50 on the RSI. That's a common characteristic. That could put us somewhere in the range here of right about, 11.5 upwards of 12.1. So we could see the price action actually decrease a little bit further, and if so, I wouldn't be super concerned with it. It's pretty standard, and it would allow for us to kind of get that relaxation, so to speak. What I mean by that is we have a significant MACD divergence, so you don't want to play your cards, you never want to bet against a house, right? And right now the house is telling us the price is still on its way down. We don't want to try to buy the dip or find the bottom. It's almost always a losing game when you try to do that. So again, the 4-hour, while it looks decent on the moving average perspective, there's still more room for growth there, so I don't really love the 4-hour there in that sense. As far as to the upside, it implies we should see further downside. Speaking of downside, take a look here. This is what I was talking about yesterday when I think we were at like a 4 or a 5, and it was trying to push up to break that little resistance level, which it did, consolidated at that support, but then lost it. We came all the way up to an 8. So we became overextended, and the price action came down to a 6, got a reset, and back on over. So in other words, what this is, these are just a series of numbers kind of telling us that, hey, if you are 9 to 12 hours roughly in either direction, the likelihood of a pullback is higher because you can only sustain a certain direction for so long. Right, so TD Sequential is telling us, hey, we hit an 8. It makes sense the price had turned around, came down to consolidate this support, and now at this level, we could see one of two things happen. The price action kind of working itself into a descending type of wedge pattern. We could very well see a breakdown to the downside. We could also see a break up as well. And I know it seems kind of counterintuitive because obviously that's how trading works, right? It either goes up or down. But generally speaking, when you have a descending type of trend like this, it's more likely to break to the downside, at least until you can make higher highs and higher lows. To touch on that point, we do have higher lows here, which is a good sign. So that implies that this descending trend isn't like a specific, it's not retesting those levels consistently. It's trying to make higher lows. And if we can keep making higher lows, a break to the upside would make a lot more sense. Okay, so I personally feel like we're kind of 50-50 on that, and that this descending trend isn't a terrible trend. The last thing we want to look at here, and this is probably going to be the icing on the cake here, is the Ichimoku cloud. This is telling us at this point, if you have a short position open, you may want to consider leaving it open because we haven't intersected with the price action just yet. Conversion lines below the baseline were within the cloud. So in other words, we have 2 out of 3 indications saying that a short position is viable. Not saying you should take a short, but it does look like it wants to kind of break below the cloud. And if it does, then that could imply that it should be viable to take a short, right? We don't have confirmation yet. You want to have at least 2 or 3 hours above or below that level first before you decide you want to go that route or to take a trade. But generally speaking, that's kind of what it's telling us here. Okay, again, being above the cloud would be appropriately beneficial if we could stay above. So if the price action continues up and closes somewhere in the 13.2 range or higher today, that'd be absolutely beneficial. But for right now, it's telling us it wants to break down a little bit further. Okay, so micro's saying downside, macro says sideways, and the midterm is pretty much telling us it wants to move down. So if you're to kind of add that all together, it seems more likely the price would retrace versus increase from here. Again, we don't have confirmation. We can't confirm that specifically, but that's kind of how it's feeling. So I would say if it were to leg down, we should see a leg down to the 11.5 range and potentially see a bounce from there. Because what that would do is that would put us at we'd bounce off 50 on the RSI here, and then potentially as well see a bounce off 50 on the RSI on the daily, depending on how long it takes to get there. All right. But either way, the benefit here is that the price action's relaxing and calming down, and that's a positive thing. And it's positive in the sense that we want to be able to allow those support levels to do their job. And that's exactly what we're looking for. So again, mostly good stuff here from Luna Classic, but just as per usual, always be careful and cautious if you are taking a trade with a coin like this. And I say a coin like this because even though it has market capitalization, it's really just an ugly stepchild. And I don't know how else to describe it. If you're familiar with Luna, Terra Luna, please make sure to familiarize yourself, because the very well same thing could potentially happen, right? We never truly know, so protect your investments, be cautious and careful, and make sure that you are just working within your risk tolerance. And those are all things I like to teach in my trading academy. So check that out. CryptoCache.tech is a website, link in the description below. I look forward to working with you. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next one. Thank you so much.